Hello everyone, and welcome to another Heffy Doodle video. I have lots of fun things to play with today. We're using some older sets by Heffy Doodle, like Elephant of Surprise and the Unbearable Without You, and some of the dies. And I have an idea of what I would like to do. Okay, so I'm starting off with a piece of Canson XL watercolor paper and the Ken Oliver color bursts in fuchsia and cerulean blue. I don't think I'm saying that right, but I'm just shaking on some of the blue color, just like I was peppering my food. And I'm trying to use a small amount. I don't want like a whole lot of this powder because it really does make a high impact. So I'm just adding a little bit of the fuchsia and a little bit of the blue. I also have this Nuvo Mister spray bottle, and it's filled with just plain water. And I'm going to spray this, if I can get the bottle to work, onto my project. I had a little bit of trouble, but it did work, and voila, look at how it activates the powder. I have used this stuff before on projects and I just love it, but this looks like red and blue, like it's the 4th of July, and that's not what I was going for. So we're gonna set that one aside to dry and start again. This is another piece of the same Canson XL watercolor paper, and I'm overdoing it. That's too much, okay? That is a lot of color, and it's gonna look black no matter what color you use because it's so much. So I tried to shake it around a little bit, but you can see when I spritz it with the water just how like dark that color is, and that's not what I wanted either. But look how cool it looks when it activates. Isn't that really cool? Let's do that one again. So I'm also gonna set this one aside to dry. This makes an incredible mess, people. Please be warned that this makes a big mess. So now I'm going with a lighter hand and shaking on the same two colors, okay? This is the same two colors, okay? And I'm spritzing on a little bit of water, and if you could see this up close and personal, it has a rainbow of color on this project. Here are the 3 panels, but I'm gonna use this one in the upper right for today's card. So now I want to choose a piece of colored cardstock to cut out my word die. I'm going to use the Heffy Cuts Thanks word die. So I'm trying to get a color that matches the background. Like I said, there's like a rainbow of color, but this is very fuchsia. This is actually Stampin' Up's Berry Burst, and it's a beautiful color. So here's the die, and I'm going to cut that out 4 times. I can get 4 thanks on that piece of paper that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Here is my Heffy Doodle memo tape, and I'm just going to put it behind one of the thanks because I'm going to layer these thanks all together. So it's going to be a layer of 4 thanks to give it some dimension. I need to poke out the negative pieces of the word die and add some liquid adhesive to the back and to adhere them together. This is the Lawn Fawn glue tube, and there was some buildup on the nozzle, so I had a little bit of trouble, and I also spilled it all over my project. Isn't that great? So I had to quickly find something to wipe it up with, and I used my absorber, which worked. I didn't try to saturate my cardstock, but it helped clean up the adhesive. And then I used my micro brush with all of that excess adhesive and dotted it behind the thanks. So it worked out in the end, and I did this for all 4 of the thanks layers. Now, I could have put some stick-it adhesive behind my cardstock and avoided this process altogether, but I didn't. So now I'm on Instagram talking to all of you guys. This is what happens. I get sidetracked. But you should follow me on Instagram because I love interacting with all of you, and it's a fun way for me. But I'm just continuing the same process, dotting on some of the adhesive, putting on the next layer, and then giving it time to dry. Eventually, you can pull that out of the cardstock and do it individually. You don't have to do it but doing it this way with the memo tape behind it allows you to keep the form of the thanks. Sometimes when you have flimsier word dies and you're adding layers to it, it could get wonky and all spread out, and it looks weird, and you don't want that. So I'm just gonna throw away that micro brush and set it aside to dry. It only takes a few minutes. And then I'm gonna take some MFT Extreme Black ink and some of the stamps from the Unbearable Without You. This is the paintbrush. And then this little paint canister is actually from a Lawn Fawn set called Chirpy Chirp Chirp. And I'm using my Copics. If you do not enjoy watching people color, you can skip ahead. But I will also have a Copic color map on my blog with the exact Copic colors that I used on this project. There were quite a few. I already had that elephant that I colored previously. I usually keep those in the stamp set. That way, if I want to go use it again and I have a previously colored image, I'll just pull it out. I'm adding some paint drops because that happens to me. When I paint, especially the walls of my house, I get paint everywhere. So I assume that this elephant is getting paint everywhere. So that was my vision behind the paint drops. I'm also using, this is Papertrey ink Limeade ice. And this is going to be my sentiment. The sentiment says, "For all you have taught me," and that's from the Teach Me Words stamp set by Heffy Doodle. And I wasn't sure what I wanted or what color I wanted to stamp it. So I'm using the green paper, but I wanted to be a little different. So I'm looking through my Distress Oxide, which is one of my favorite inks to use, and I chose Salty Ocean. So this is going to be a blue sentiment on the green paper, and honestly I think it turned out pretty cool. It looks pretty funky, has like an 80s vibe. Look at that awesome stain on my shirt. I don't even know where that came from. Like, what? Anyway, I'm using the Heffy Doodle strips of these to cut out my sentiment. This is going to lay right underneath the thanks on my card panel. And I'm using my Sizzix Sidekick to do so. It just helps me keep that long die kind of controlled. And it's still a little crooked, but you know what? It's all right. So we're going to use the coordinating dies to cut out the paint brushes and those paint cans. My Your Next Stamp die snips help me cut out just the dies that I want to use. Sometimes I do that.
No, my shadow hurts.
Did he just say my shadow hurts?
Yes.
Not my priority. Now that I have everything cut out, we're going to put this sucker together. I'm using some white craft foam and scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive to pop up that front panel. I tried to coat the outside with a distress glaze so that that watercolor wouldn't come off, but it actually started to activate the watercolors again, so I stopped. And then I cut a slit in that one paint can, and I'm using a glue dot to adhere the paint brush like it's coming out of the paint can. This time I reached for Old Faithful, the Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, to adhere some of my elements of the card. The green paint can and brush, as well as the blue paint can. I don't know about you, but I like to lay everything out to kind of get a judge of like where I need to adhere things. Sometimes it works out for me, sometimes it doesn't. I use Scotch 3M foam tape to pop up the elephant and this pink paint can. And then I grabbed my glue dots to do that little blue paintbrush and this pink one that he's holding in his little hand. Scotch 3M foam tape for the sub-sentiment. And then I just adhered the thanks word die with Tombow Mono liquid adhesive. I should really use this one more often. I miss this guy. He's wonderful. And then I adhered that flat to the card panel. That's it. That's my card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please find me, find Heffy Doodle on social media. What do you think, Tim?
Looks like you, if you were an elephant.
Thanks. All right, buddy.
Whoa.
Can you read your name?
Does that say my name?
I don't know. Does it?
Dexter.
Okay. Well, I think there's Bubba and Sissy presents too.
Well, should I open this one?
No, we gotta get Bubba and Sissy.
Why don't you go wake Bubba and Sissy?
This one?
Yeah, I know. Go get them. Wake them up. Tell them, get up.
What do you think it is?
Looks just like Bubba's.
Yeah. Can I open the top?
Yes.
Whoa.
Things as big as you are.
Yeah, because it makes them money.
Yeah. I got the guitar.
It's a brush. Right, but you're supposed to open it. Yay! Like.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh,
It was a little uneventful, but
Sorry.
it's okay.
That's
I
just
thought it would
handmade,
be
man.
more explosive.
More
But I guess
more pop to it.
we'll clean it all up later.
Well, hand me that.
What?
Hand me that.
Yeah, I read it. I read it all right. Sam's kind of a dick.
Look how it's
What does it
wrapped.
say?
Who do you think?
It says, to Bob.
I think I'm gonna name my kid Robert.
Dexter, what's that box?
I'm confused. Why are you confused?
Why are we all whispering?
Should I open it? I'm gonna open it.
That
Wow.
what is that?
Helmet.
For what?
Let me check it.
I'm like, what?
Put it on.
It turns out it's actually just for him to wear so he doesn't die in his daily activities. When I was a big kid.
It's from Target.
Look at that.
Blast shield.
That is so cool. What do you think you need a helmet for? Riding a motorcycle? You don't have a motorcycle.
Where do I have it?
Where? What John Gator?
I don't got no answer.
Maybe you should check outside.
Grab me a piece of firewood.
Come on, let's go. Let's go outside.
Yeah.
Let's go on up this way.
Grab me a piece of firewood, Dexter.
Yeah.
Hey, back up, back up, back up.
What's that?
It's a motorcycle.
What is it?
It's a motorcycle.
Are you cold?
No,
No?
not cool.
Is that for you?
Yeah. What? Happy Santa gift.
Mommy and Daddy got it for you.
Woo! Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Careful.
Is it cool?
I would be disappointed if he didn't. To be honest.
I can ride it.
Do you like it? Is it better than a John Gator?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Break! Break! There you go.
Woo! What's that, Daddy?
Don't look at me. You gotta watch where you're going, buddy.